Hey everybody, it's Johnny Bohmer here with the world famous BADD GT, the official world's fastest street legal car at 310.8 miles an hour or 500.1 kilometers an hour for our European friends. You know, I get asked a lot of questions about the run. What's the horsepower, specs of the car, how hard was it to stop, and the list goes on, and we try to answer a lot of the YouTube comments, you know, by replying back to people. But this video, I'm going to try to break down the entire run. If you have not seen the video, go to this link right here and watch the video, and then come back and watch this video, and a lot of the questions you may have will hopefully be answered. Of course, one of the first questions I get asked is how much horsepower does the car make? The day we did the run, which was not a full boost pull, the car was capable of around 2,700 horsepower at the rear wheel. That would have been done on a hub dyno. We didn't push it to 2,700 horse. You know, obviously we don't want to blow the car up at the dyno, rather blow it up on the runway if we're going to have a problem. So we knew the car was around 2,700 horse. We only used 21 and change to do the 310. So this car has got the original 5.4 liter Ford engine that came with it. Keep in mind, this is a 2006 Ford. I bought this car brand new in West Palm Beach, and it is a real Ford GT, and a lot of the original equipment is still on the car. We've modified the body, the suspension. The whole transmission is fully gutted with a straight cut dog box from PPG down in Australia, but the case is still the original Ricardo case. The engine is still the original modular 5.4 aluminum block engine. So this is important because this isn't some huge giant pro mod car that we sneak out and stick a plate on and drive around. I drive this car almost every day. It's got license tag insurance. The AC blows less than 60 degrees. It is truly a daily driver. It has a manual transmission. It's got a great stereo in it with a 6-inch or 8-inch subwoofer in it. It's really a great street car. And we also, people always ask me, what kind of tires? Well, there is no tire rated for 310 miles an hour. The highest rated tire you can buy off the shelf is about 187 mile an hour. That's a YZ rated tire. And I did a lot of research back in the early 2000s about tires because nobody really knew what was going on. I'm not going to divulge everything that I know about tires, but I do know that we run a Michelin tire. It's off the shelf from Tire Rack, everybody. These are street tires that we bought. Now, currently the car's got my 20-inch Nittos. These are my street tires that I drive around. The Michelins are on an 18-inch. We run 18 front and 18 rear, and those are a little low. The car rides a little low, so around the street when I'm going through drive-thrus at McDonald's or going over speed bumps and stuff like that, the car will snag and drag across the belly pan. So we run these 20-inch tires on it right now, which seems to work real well for street use. But again, I did that run on street legal DOT tires. The only tire you can get with a higher speed rating than that I know of is the BADD. Those tires are like this wide. They would never fit this car. They're rated for 253. It wouldn't function with this. So about the run, you know, we got there that morning. Our goal was to get several good data logs in, and I was following Jason's advice on how to sneak up on the tune to get the most amount of power. So as you noticed, I took off in first gear. I took the car up to about 8,000 RPMs, same in second, same in third, same in fourth gear. I didn't push the car hard first through fourth because Jason was asking for data in fifth and sixth gear. And those are the two main gears in this whole entire operation is fifth and sixth. I stood on fifth gear really hard, took it up. I shifted around 9,300 RPMs at 266 miles an hour, grabbed sixth gear. Car was pulling like a bear. As you can see in the video, it was still pulling hard. You can see I was looking over to see if I'd crack a good number. You know, let me just back up a minute. I've been chasing 300 miles an hour since 2010 probably, maybe earlier, and I knew this car could do it. But I've had tremendous amount of failure. This is difficult to do, and we're not some giant manufacturer-sponsored shop. You know, this is a out-of-your-pocket operation. But when I was going in the car, I looked over and saw it was over 300. I'm very comfortable with this car. I know how it handles, I know how it feels, and I felt like I could push it just far enough to get a big number. And I saw that 310, and that's when I pulled the chute, and it pulled at 310.8, which is, again, 500.1 kilometers. At that point, I knew when I pulled the chute, I drove through the chute full throttle, felt the chute deploy and grab. I knew I was going to have an issue stopping the vehicle. That's when I stood on the brakes, I eased into them, and then I ended up having to stand on them to get the car to slow down. And I skidded 1,100 feet. It put flat spots on the back tires. It did do some damage to the front tires as well. It's pretty funny. After the run, when I drove back to the beginning, the car was bouncing down and humpity, humpity, humpity. But the car did what it was going to do. It felt good, and I pushed it to the limit I felt comfortable and safe at because I've been driving this car for a long time. You know, everybody asked what the distance was when I did that run. Again, we were lollygagging first through fourth gear. The tuner wanted full data for fifth and sixth gear at a very high RPM shift, so we ate up a lot of ground. That particular run where I went 310.8 was around 2 miles. The reason I don't launch the car hard is because on that run we were testing. We had done 4 passes that day. This was on a Friday. We also had the runway for Saturday. I did 4 passes that day. We're trying to gather data, making minor adjustments with the timing, minor adjustments with the fuel, trying to keep the car alive so we can do a big run and still be able to drive the car around all next week, you know, after the run. So I did not push the car hard first through fourth gear. This has a stock Ricardo case in it. I used to drag race this car at the track, and it runs pretty good, but I broke several transmissions. The second I would grab second gear and get any kind of traction, it would squirt the main shaft out of the back and destroy the gearbox. They're no longer really even available. So I don't launch the car hard on that particular run because we were trying to get some data. So other than the tire question of what kind of tires I run, the number one asked question, probably the number one asked question is, what does it feel like to go 310 miles an hour? It's a very interesting question, and it's not easy to answer. I've had this car over 280 miles an hour about 130 times over the years. A lot of failure, a lot of testing, a lot of criteria went into making sure this car wouldn't fly away, a lot of adjustments. So I've got a lot of seat time in this car at high speed. I'm kind of used to it, and I just kind of went through the motions. That particular day, I just got in the car and did my job. I tell people that you can't react to a problem. You have to be there and in tune with the vehicle, because when something goes south, you have to know instinctively what to do, because it's not easy to make a correction at that speed. So there is no real answer to what it's like. It was fun. The car felt great. And we've got this car so well dialed in, it looks like, if you watch the video, it looks like I'm driving down the street to go to the grocery store. It took years to get this car to handle the way you see it handling. And I have a great comfort zone in how well this car runs. This is a great car. It's fun. I really enjoyed the run. I kind of just go into a zone when I drive the car. So to answer the question, long story short, I just get in the car and do the job. Another question that I see a lot, in a lot of critique, I have a lot of people critique my run because they say, hey, that idiot's letting go of the steering wheel. Hey everybody, this is a manual transmission. It's a 6-speed with a clutch. You have to use your hand to shift the gears. It's not a paddle shift. I have to let go of the steering wheel to shift the car. And you'll notice I go back and grab the steering wheel, but I have to let go to shift the car. A lot of people understand that. Some people don't, because they're used to the more modern vehicles that everything's automatic. Even without a paddle shift, they just boom, 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 go through the gears. I wish this had that, but it doesn't. Another reason to let go of the steering wheel is to push the parachute lever. This has a cable with a parachute. So when I was doing the run, I saw that I had clipped 300. I said, man, it'd be great to go 500 kilometers. And if you watch my eyes, I'm looking over at the V-box. I felt like I was in a really good position to get a big number. And then when I felt like I had hit a big number, I reached down and pushed the parachute lever. I had to let go with one hand to engage the parachute. I didn't have an automatic launcher, they call it, that's a pneumatic style. I have a spring-loaded parachute. Most dangerous part of the run, in my opinion, is the parachute deployment. Parachutes can save you or they can crash you. You have to know how to drive a parachute. So when I pull the parachute, you have to stay in the throttle. You cannot let up on the throttle and you cannot touch the brakes until the parachute's fully deployed. At 310 miles an hour, you're going about 455 feet per second. That's a football field and a half, people, in 1 second. And it took about 2 seconds for the parachute to fully deploy and grab air. So we went about 1,000 feet, just shy of a quarter mile before the parachute even grabbed. But until you feel that parachute, that very comforting drag that pulls your head forward, if you watch the video, Hulk swings his legs out. That drag and that feel is very comforting because you know you have assistance to stop. So a lot of eagle-eyed viewers that have seen the video were very smart and pointed out, hey, what's that big bottle in the front? Is it nitrous? And the answer to that is yes. We have nitrous on the BADD GT. There's two bottles in this car. One is a CO2 bottle, which we use to monitor the wastegate pressure so I can have boost by gear. You can't have full boost first, second, third, fourth gear. You're just going to spin like you're on ice. Secondly, we have nitrous in the car. But unlike what a lot of people assume, this is a very small nitrous shot. It's a 50 shot of nitrous. It makes 50 horsepower. And we spray it right into the intercooler intake, right by the throttle body, to help cool the inlet charge down. Funny enough, I had done 4 passes that Friday. We were out of nitrous. We didn't realize we were out of nitrous. We went to do the last run. We turned the bottle on. I did have a spare bottle, but we didn't switch it. We assumed it was good. I did that entire run assuming that I had a little nitrous shot spraying into the intercooler, and we didn't. I'm not saying that would have made any difference because it doesn't necessarily add 50 horsepower overall. What it's doing is it's cooling the intercooler charge, and it may even be hurting the overall horsepower output, but we weren't using it for that. We were using it to cool the intercooler charge. We will run it next time, again, a 50 shot, but when I did the 310.8, the nitrous was completely empty. It didn't have any nitrous in it. So hopefully that answers y'all's question about the nitrous. Another thing everybody asked me is, hey, after the run, was the car still running? Absolutely, the car was running fine. The clutch was a little bit unhappy. I noticed when I put the clutch in, it was a little grindy because it was grabbing. But after about 15 minutes, we celebrated. I got in the car and started it. It worked fine. And then I drove the car for a couple weeks after that run every day. Again, we drove it over to Roberto's to do the hub dyno test on it a few days later. But the car ran fine. There was no issues. And this is all because of Jason's tuning capabilities and Tim Eichhorn at MPR Racing Engines, who built the motor, and he's built the engine that's going to be in it for this next run. This type of activity is not easy. Everybody talks about, oh, this guy's going to go 320, this guy's going to go 330. You got to find somebody that wants to get in the vehicle that's willing to risk their life to do this. There's a lot of things that can happen. I'm running on tires. I'm 100 plus miles an hour over the tire speed rating. There's many things that can happen. So you have to be aware of all these things, and you got to be able to drive the car.